What's up, guys? This is Dustin here from the Don't Go Out There podcast, brought to you, of course, by the Big Three Roll Up Network. I'm joined tonight by my great co host, Bryan, my favorite co host, since the other two aren't here, I can say that. But
Good choice.
we want to bring you some YouTube exclusive content here. And what we're going to be discussing tonight is Fear Street Part 1, 1994. It was released this past Friday, July 2nd on Netflix as part of a three-part series. It's not a mini-series. These are full-fledged movies. This first one was, an hour and 54 minutes, or an hour and 47 minutes long. So it's a full movie based on a series of books written by R.L. Stine, the same R.L. Stine that was a huge part of my childhood, the author of the Goosebumps books. And so, yeah, part one came out on Friday. So we're the only two that have watched it so far. Nico is going to, Mike's on vacation. He doesn't know what time zone he's in right now. So the two of us watched it, and we're going to just kind of give you our general thoughts. We might have some spoilers. We might not spoil too much, and we'll just let you know what we thought about it. So, Bryan, go ahead and get us started. What'd you think?
Yeah, I'm going to try to not really get too much into spoiler territory. I think that I think that it's pretty safe bet that we'll probably review these, down the road whenever they come out, and the other guys kind of get on board. But, I just honestly, I thought it was just okay. I'm 37 years old. I'll be 38 on Sunday. I just don't feel like that I was maybe the target audience. Like you brought up, I loved Goosebumps when I was growing up. I really didn't get too much into the Fear Street series when I was growing up. I was mostly a Goosebumps guy. Maybe that's just, where it fell in my age bracket there. But the Fear Street books were a little bit older than me. I think the Goosebumps were for kind of where I was in my age. The Fear Street, and like this is, I almost feel like it's targeted towards preteens, like young early teens, and that's why I feel like it kind of just didn't hit me the same, as and I can definitely tell that I would have loved this back then when I was a preteen. I feel like that I would have really enjoyed it. It just kind of was just okay to me.
I can get on board with that. Now, here's where we kind of disagree, though. I think that we are the target audience for this, and the reason I say that, I think there's two intended audiences that they wanted to draw in with this. I think there's people like you and I that grew up watching Goosebumps, and I know that it's a different book series, but I'm watching this movie and I'm thinking, man, there's something so familiar about this. And then it really hit me. Holy shit, this feels like I'm watching the old Goosebumps show that used to come on, I believe, Saturday mornings, or maybe it was Friday Night Snick. I don't remember. Or Saturday Night Snick, sorry.
Yeah.
But it felt very familiar with a twist. Obviously, the language is kicked up a notch. They wouldn't say as many F-bombs and have so much suggestive content as they did in this back in the day on Nickelodeon or Fox. I can't remember what Goosebumps came on. It wasn't. I always get it. I want to say it came on the same channel as Are You Afraid of the Dark, but I think they were separate, right?
Yeah, it was
two different
Nick.
channels.
It was Nick at Night, right? Wasn't it something?
God,
I
we're
can't.
old.
You know what? Yeah, I should have. We should have. I didn't know we were going to get on the Goosebumps, but I guess we. How do you not? At this point with these things. So.
Right, but I mean, so I think their target audience though was those that grew up on that series and that never really progressed in their taste for movie and film. And so, like, if I was still in the same headspace, and I know a lot of people that they're still the same person as far as what they enjoy watching, that they love that nostalgia and that comfortability of, hey, I grew up on this, so I still want to watch stuff that's like it. Those people are going to enjoy this. And another target audience is the high schoolers or the college kid that wants something to put on it's entertaining, but it's also decent story as well. And so I thought the target audience was good. I mean, I was not familiar with, or I thought the target audience was kind of us. Now, if you didn't grow up on Goosebumps and you're our age, no, you might like it, but probably not. If you are you might not like it either because it's not that great. It's not that great, but I enjoyed it. I wasn't familiar with Fear Street. I knew that it was R.L. Stine, but I didn't read the books either, like you.
Right.
And I went into this completely blind. You told me about it first. You said you mentioned that it was out and you watched it, and that you had this kind of mixed bag of feelings on it. And then I was like, you know what? I need to watch that. I looked at it. All I did was pull up Netflix on my phone, and I looked at the poster, the artwork for each three, and I said,
Mm-hmm.
they've obviously got some money in this. This is not just a generic looking poster. So let me see what it's about. Top 10 on Netflix right now for a reason. I enjoyed it. Don't think it's perfect, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah, and it was something, I don't know about you, but I was ridiculously disappointed when they came out with that joke of a Goosebumps movie. So
Yeah.
this is what I hoped that would always be. Now, when I say, yeah, I mean, maybe our age bracket is, and you're 100% right on that. I changed my mind. I completely agree with you on the target audience thing. Maybe I just felt like for me, being that we dissect these movies, I guess, and watch these so much that I'm just, I sat there and couldn't just enjoy it. And I just saw all the flaws with it. And there are definitely a ton. But I also remember whenever I was 13, a 13-year-old boy, what's on your mind. So you want to watch a horror movie when you're 13. You don't want to go too overboard, but you want something with great gore and nudity. And hey, something just a little bit risque, something that's going to show me blood and guts and just be fun to watch. And I would have loved this movie whenever I was 13 or 14 years old. There's no doubt.
Absolutely. And the movie does have some charm from the standpoint of we grew up in the 90s. You mentioned your age, your upcoming birthday. I'm 32. I'll be 33 in August. So we grew up in the 90s. I was 6 in 1994. But a lot of the stuff you see in this movie is like, man, it really takes you back. And even if you didn't grow up in that, just something as simple as the opening act when they're in a shopping mall, looking back now, it's like, holy shit, people don't really do that anymore.
Right.
Like they do, but not the way that they did that, in this time. I thought the cast was good.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed the acting from the cast. I think the writing was a little bit inconsistent. I think they couldn't decide, do we want to go full-fledged tongue-in-cheek with some of the dialogue, or do we want to make this a serious movie? Because when you take some of the dialogue and you pair it up with some of the most beautiful deaths we've discussed in a long time.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
There is some incredible kills in this movie.
Yes.
And so it was very inconsistent when you talk about those. Like the deaths and the dialogue together, it's just like, what the hell is going on here? But I thought the star of the movie was Josh, my man Benjamin Flores Jr. I thought that he was I love that kid. I thought he was great in this movie. Yeah. He was charming. He was sincere. And like I said, I enjoyed it for what it was.
Well, you talked about the deaths. I won't spoil it, but if you've seen it, there's especially one that will get you towards the end when you're just, holy shit. Yeah. And so I will definitely splurge on this movie and talk about how great the deaths are. Maya Hawke from Stranger Things, and obviously Uma Thurman and Dustin's boy Ethan Hawke's daughter. She's got a nice little cameo for the intro. I kind of feel like that was almost a nowadays maybe version of having Drew Barrymore in the first part of Scream for a second. Just, yes. There's a lot of homages to a lot of different movies. It definitely has some Scream vibes, of course, but it does keep I keep using it, but it's the only thing I could think of off the top of my head it does have the Stranger Things type vibe to it. So it's not as adult as Scream, as funny as that sounds to say, but it's not as childish as some of the stuff in Stranger Things either. So I thought it was a good little blend if we're talking about some good stuff there.
Yeah, for sure. And you just broke some news to me. I did not realize until I was today years old, as the kids say, when I realized that Maya Hawke is the great Ethan Hawke's daughter. I don't know why I never put that together. So
and Uma Thurman, she looks just like her.
Yeah, that's true. So I could see that. But this movie just went up a few points in my book because it's got the seed of the greatest actor of our generation. But no, you're 100% right about the opening act. It definitely has some Scream vibes, which I think is perfect. Like you think about the 90s and you think about slashers,
right?
Scream, right? It kind of reset the genre. And when you're now so many years removed from Scream, and you're wanting to pay tribute, that opening scene was perfect. You had a killer in a mask. You had a death by literally slash. The killer was taking a knife and slashing at the gut, not stabbing at first, just slashing. And I thought that was like, okay, that's funny because they're called slashers, but we don't get a lot of cut deaths. We get stab deaths and other things. So it was funny that the first action we saw with the knife was an actual slash. I thought that they pulled off a lot of things that can be tricky as far as tips of the cap and paying homage to films that walk before it.
Right. And, there are a ton of nitpicks I won't get into now, a lot of dialogue issues, a lot of stuff that just kind of doesn't make sense in some parts of it. But I will definitely say the opening is great to me and the ending is great to me. I thought the ending was very good, especially the ending. So I won't spoil that. Go watch it if you haven't seen it. It was definitely enough to keep me intrigued, enough to see the other two parts. It's almost like I said, something. And I don't know, it was the atmosphere it set or something. It made me feel like that this was a movie that I would watch in some big marathon in Halloween when I was just like throwing in some like in October, just throwing in some Halloween stuff. I think that this was a really good, almost trick or treat-ish type movie. If that, that's the first thing that popped in my head was trick or treat. So, so what do you think? I brought up the two sequels that are coming down the line for the trilogy. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so the trilogies, of course, they're going to release these in 3 consecutive weeks, which I think is nice. We don't have to wait.
Right.
Part 2 is being released this Friday, July 9th. Part 3 is being released July 16th. Part 2 takes place, it's called 1978. Part 3 is called 1666, so we're going backwards in time. Not that far, relatively speaking, between Part 1 and Part 2, but then a hell of a long jump back to Part 3. But I went into Part 1 saying, I don't know. We'll see how this one goes, and then we'll decide if we're going to watch them. But I think Part 1, like you said, it's not perfect. There's some serious issues as far as some of the movie dragged. 147 minutes really felt like 147 or an hour and 47 minutes rather.
Agreed.
At times. Part of the storyline was told in an odd order to me. There was a lot of jumping around that I felt like the story could have been told a lot smoother. But Part 1 did a good enough job that not only am I going to see Part 2, but I'm already committed to Part 3. A lot of times I'm like, well, Part 1 was okay. Let's see how Part 2 is before I decide on 3.
Right.
No, I'm just going to see it through. Like, I enjoyed it that much because, like I said, it really felt like I'm watching those old R.L. Stine Goosebumps shows.
Right.
And it really has that feel that I appreciate from my childhood. I can respect it, as well as the vamped up dialogue to suit my mature. It's funny we say mature, but if you talk about people that cuss all the time, it's pretty much immature depending on who you ask. But it does enough to where I'm in for the other two. What are you saying?
I mean, I'm definitely in for the other two just because I kind of want to see where it goes. I almost can say without a doubt, and there is some doubt, but I'm pretty sure that this is going to be my favorite one based on, all right, the time period. This is everything that I want to see in this one. Plus, this is going to run into the problem that I'm worried about is that you're going backwards. So you know where the story's ending up. So it's almost like you're going back and doing 2 prequels to what you just saw. They gave you a lot of information in this one about that you're probably going to see in the other 2. So I don't feel like there's going to be a ton of surprises because you know how they're going to end up, and you didn't know how this was going to end up. Now, if they're going to throw me some kind of weird, crazy time loop or whatever, hey, I'm all for it. Mix it up. I hope I'm not right because I'm going to be a little bit disappointed if I am. The way that this ended, I'm a little bit surprised that there's not a follow up to this somehow. We're going backwards. So, maybe that's something down the road. I don't know, but they definitely didn't leave it, or they definitely didn't close out a trilogy if that's what they were trying to do.
Yeah, for sure. And part of me wonders if the way the ending was on this first one, and by the way, there is a false ending that I did not really appreciate that. I wish they'd just, don't tease me like that, but whatever. Part of me thinks, though, with the ending on this, that what they might do is majority of the second one take place in 78, and then the ending kind of bring us up, to kind of tell more of the backstory. Because I don't think that they would have shot their load so heavily in the first one, just to put out lackluster efforts in 2 and 3 when they're releasing, all 3 are made.
Right.
Because a lot of times with that, they'll say, hey, let's make this first movie and let's make it really good. And then it does well. And then they decide, hey, let's do a sequel. That did really well. No, they've already committed to 3. So part of me thinks that they've got this planned out, and they've got it to where we just need to sit back and trust them a little bit, because anytime that 3 are made and in the can ready to fire off in succession, surely to God they've got it figured out a little bit more than what we're led to believe.
And I 100% hope you're right. That's what I really do hope you're right. I want to see some more 90s. I want to see some 80s, and I'm kind of, I'm not really pumped about going back to the especially the 1600s in the witch area, but it'll be interesting.
Hell no.
We'll see.
Bring me those women dressed like Quakers. I love it.
Yeah. Well, I think that's all I've got on this.
Yeah.
Tonight.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you had any final thoughts. I mean, you heard it here from the 2 more logical people that host this show. Don't tell Mike or Nico we said that. But we both recommend watching it. We're not saying you're going to love it, but we enjoyed it enough to recommend it. So let us know what you think. Follow us on all our social medias. Got Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, got a TikTok. Let us know what you think. Interact with us. We love that. Go to our website, don'tgooutthere.com. Check out all our previous episodes, our YouTube channel. And tune in. We're looking forward to discussing the other 2. Have a good one.
Thank you.